What if I told you there comes a moment in your financial life when saving more money actually stops helping you? And no, I'm not talking about the moment you start making millions or when you suddenly decide to live like a rock star. I'm talking about something far more subtle, something most people never even notice happening. Yet it changes everything about how wealth grows, how money works, and how you think about your future. And strangely, almost nobody talks about it. Today, let's break down the exact point when saving stops moving the needle, and why continuing to obsess over it can even hold you back. If you're someone who's been saving every spare dollar, cutting every subscription, skipping every latte, this might be the most important money conversation you hear all year. Before we jump in, make sure to hit that like button so this video reaches more people who need it. And subscribe if you want more videos that break the rules of traditional money advice. Now, let's get into this. In the beginning of anyone's financial journey, saving feels powerful. It feels like control. You cut a $20 expense, and suddenly your bank account is up by $20. You switch to a cheaper phone plan, and boom, you see the difference right away. Every dollar feels meaningful. Every deposit feels like progress. And honestly, it is. When your net worth is $5,000, $10,000, or even $30,000, most of your financial growth is fueled by the money you're physically putting in. Your deposits are the engine. Your habits are the fuel. Your decisions are the difference between progress and stagnation. But here's the twist. Fast forward 10, 15, or 20 years, and everything changes. You go from being the engine to barely being the person sitting in the passenger seat. Let me show you what I mean. In the early days, when you put $400 into your investment account, you feel it. You check the numbers. You watch them grow. You feel motivated because you're seeing the impact of your effort. But when your investments grow large enough, your effort becomes the smallest part of the equation. And the strangest thing? Most people don't even realize it's happening. The Federal Reserve has published multiple reports showing that once households cross around $100,000 in invested assets, their future growth is no longer driven mainly by savings. It's driven by returns. Compounding quietly takes over the job you were doing manually for years, and it doesn't ask for permission. It just walks in and takes control. Let's make this simple. Imagine you're investing $700 a month. Over a year, that's $8,400. In the beginning, this feels huge. It is huge, but let's compare your contribution to the return on your investments over time. At $10,000 invested, a 10% return is $1,000 a year. Your contributions are doing 89% of the work. At $100,000 invested, the market is paying you $10,000 a year. Now your contributions are smaller than your returns. At $500,000 invested, your $8,400 contribution looks tiny next to the roughly $50,000 the market grows on its own. At $1 million invested, your portfolio might grow by $80,000 to $120,000 in a normal year. Your contribution is less than 1/10 of that. And that's the moment, right there, when saving aggressively no longer makes a measurable difference. That's the shift most people never recognize. When your money begins growing faster than you can reasonably add to it, the game changes. Saving built the foundation, but saving can't take you to the next level. Think of early-stage wealth building like pushing a giant boulder uphill. At first, it's brutal. Every inch of progress feels earned. You're budgeting, you're trying to spend less, you're cutting back on tiny expenses because they actually matter. Then, one day, the boulder finally reaches the top, and this is where things get interesting. Once the boulder starts rolling downhill, it doesn't need you pushing it anymore. In fact, even if you tried to push it harder, it wouldn't make a difference. The gravity, the compounding, has taken over. It's doing the heavy lifting for you. That's exactly what happens with your investments. There's a moment, a very specific moment, when your money starts working harder than you ever could. Your savings become less impactful, not because they're bad, but because the machine you've built has become too powerful for your manual effort to influence. But here's the ironic part. Most people never adjust. They keep cutting coupons. They keep stressing over tiny expenses. They keep living with the same scarcity mindset even when their bank account is screaming, "You don't need to do this anymore." Think about it. If your portfolio is generating $50,000, $80,000, or even $100,000 per year in returns without you touching it, how much difference does cutting a $10 streaming subscription make? Almost none. This is where so many people get stuck. They continue behaving like they're broke long after they've built real wealth. Let's look at this from another angle. There's something called diminishing marginal utility, a concept from behavioral economics and referenced by the National Bureau of Economic Research. In simple words, it means the impact of each extra dollar decreases as you get wealthier. When you have $1,000 and you save $100, that's a big deal. When you have $1 million, saving that same $100 does nothing. You won't feel it, and your net worth won't feel it either. Yet, many people hold on to their old habits for emotional reasons, not financial ones. Some do it out of fear of losing what they've built. Some do it because saving has become part of their identity. Some do it because they don't trust the future. And others do it simply because they haven't updated the way they think about money. Let me introduce you to a type of saver that economists call habitual budgeters. These are people who spent decades being careful with money and now struggle to stop being careful, even after they no longer need to be. They still drive older cars, still hesitate on vacations, still avoid small luxuries, not because they can't afford them, but because spending feels uncomfortable. It's like someone who trained for a marathon for 20 years and suddenly doesn't know how to stop running. There's nothing wrong with being cautious, but at some point, caution keeps you from actually enjoying the wealth you built. Let me give you an example. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that Americans over 65 spend the least money relative to their wealth. In fact, surveys by Fidelity show that retirees often leave behind more money than they expected to spend. They worked their entire lives, saved cash, invested well, and still couldn't bring themselves to use the money they accumulated. They reached the finish line and didn't take the prize. This brings us to the real heart of the question. When does it make sense to stop saving aggressively? It's when three conditions line up. First, when your portfolio is growing faster than your contributions. This is a mathematical sign that compounding has taken over. If your returns are outpacing what you add, you're no longer the main driver of your growth. Second, when you've already hit or exceeded your long-term goals. If you've saved enough for retirement, enough for your lifestyle, enough for emergencies, then adding more money no longer moves you closer to anything meaningful. You're simply piling cash for no reason. And third, when saving starts preventing you from actually living your life. Money is a tool, not a trophy. You're meant to use it. If saving more means enjoying less, that's not smart finance. That's fear disguised as discipline. Let's bring this back to real numbers. Financial planners often say that if you can live off 4% of your investments comfortably without touching the principal, you're in great shape. So if you need $60,000 a year and you've got $1.5 million invested, you're basically there. If you need $100,000 and you've got $2.5 million, again, you're there. And yet, people with far more than they need, $3, $5, even $10 million, still save like they're one step away from disaster. But here's the truth nobody tells them. They've already won. At this stage, shifting your mindset becomes more important than cutting expenses. Managing your investments, optimizing taxes, reviewing your allocations, these things matter much more than skipping takeout or buying cheaper detergent. If your portfolio throws off $50,000 a year, a smarter investment strategy might raise that number to $60,000 or even $70,000. But skipping Starbucks? That just saves you $5. See the difference? This brings us to the psychological challenge. Many people have been savers for so long that they don't know how to switch from building wealth to enjoying it. They don't know how to change gears. They've mastered the first half of the money game, but never learned the second half. Saving is easy. Spending mindfully is hard. And that's why so many people keep saving far past the point it matters. Before we wrap up, let's address the question you might still have. Does this mean you should stop saving completely once you hit these milestones? Not necessarily. It simply means saving isn't the star of the show anymore. You don't need to push the boulder, you need to guide it. You don't need to obsess over tiny expenses, you need to think strategically. You don't need to live in scarcity, you need to enjoy the freedom you spent years building. In short, your focus shifts from building wealth to managing wealth. So here's the takeaway. Saving is one of the most powerful habits you can build in your life. It creates stability, opportunity, and options. But once your investments begin outpacing your contributions, and once your financial goals are comfortably met, saving more becomes less about progress and more about habit. When you reach that moment, you have a choice. You can keep living like every dollar matters, even when it no longer does. Or you can adjust, breathe a little, enjoy life more, and let the machine you built finally work the way it was designed to. Before you click away, think about this. What stage are you in right now? Are you still pushing the boulder uphill, or has it already crested without you realizing it? Your answer might change the way you look at money forever.